And joining us now is Behnam Ben Taleblu. He's a senior fellow at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. All right, Behnam, Iran says that it's going to be sending over forces to Lebanon, but how far is the Islamic Republic really willing to go at this point to support Hezbollah, which is its largest proxy group?
Great to be with you, Natasha. That's really the million-dollar question right now, as Israel is in the business of dismantling or pushing back Iranian proxies to its south in Gaza, to its west, to its east in the West Bank, and to its north with respect to Lebanese Hezbollah, and that exceptionally bold strike against the Secretary General, Hassan Nasrallah. I actually found the comment, it was less than half a page by Iran's Supreme Leader, to be rather meager and, in fact, weak. There was no promise of bloodlust or hard revenge that existed in the press releases and commentary after the killing of Hania by Israel earlier this summer, or Soleimani by the U.S. In January of 2020. I think absolutely the Iranians understand how outgunned they are. And I think their only hope right now is to translate an Israeli military win into an Iranian political win in the medium to long term. If I had to guess, based on the comments in that press release, he's calling on the entire axis of resistance to fire at Israel. It remains to be seen if the Iranians will do so directly. But I will bring you this. Iranian semi-official news agencies are saying that the Quds Force commander in the area was also killed in the strike.
Right. Of course, I mean, that would essentially be considered a good enough reason for Iran to vow a much harsher response as it has in the past when we've seen the targeted killing of other of its commanders abroad, whether that's in Damascus or in Beirut. But, you know, here in Israel, the Home Front Command has changed its instructions. It says that gatherings of over 1,000 people are canceled in the center of the country. This essentially suggests rocket fire in the area. We did just see a ballistic missile fired from Yemen. You know, it would suggest that the proxy groups have the capability to continue attacks like this, and the leadership structure in Hezbollah is perhaps still in place to be able to make the kind of order to send long-range missiles into the center of Israel. But what role does Iran actually play in Hezbollah's decision-making at this point, in your opinion?
I mean, that's as much a technical and intelligence question as a political question, because do they have the means of communicating directly when the beepers, the walkie-talkies, the pagers, the phones are either all tapped or hit, when the group is forced to flee, when the command and control essentially dissipates, and even when the physical Iranian connective tissue, that local Quds Force commander, is indeed taken out in the same airstrike? It begs the question as to how tight can Tehran actually pull on the reins. The flip side of this coin is that Iran tends actually not to pull the reins in very tightly. They tend to respect local autonomy and local initiative, and that's what makes this proxy problem such a big military threat, is that it's quite responsive to local. So if the $1 million question is how will Iran respond, the $500,000 question is, will what's left of Hezbollah's command and control look at what's left of their arsenal through the prism of use it or lose it?
Mm-hmm. Now, you spoke about politics within Iran and kind of the impact that they could have on the decision-making that is made next. How does the internal political situation in Iran impact the Islamic Republic's support for Hezbollah and its other proxy groups at this point? Iran is facing a major economic crisis right now. We see very weakened support for the Islamic regime, and it's clear that Pezeshkian, the president, wants there to be more of a focus on these kind of local issues and regional ones.
Indeed, on the home front, he talks about local issues rather than regional ones. But I will say for the few months he's been, quote unquote, elected and inaugurated in office, he's talked a heck of a lot about Hamas, the Houthis, Hezbollah, warming ties with Russia and China, and even Western university students that he feels the need to defend as not being anti-Semites while he defends a regime that kills their own university students at home. Listen, Pezeshkian and his ilk, that broader faction that supports him, are dangling one thing right now to bail out this regime as it's receiving stronger and stronger blows against Israel. And that one thing it's dangling is not the ability to improve the economy. It's actually the ability to use the nuclear issue as a human shield. Pezeshkian recently wrapped up his speech at the UNGA earlier this week in New York City. He's met with European foreign ministers on the sidelines. He's had press conferences. Iran's former foreign minister, Mohammad Javad Zarif, went on the media talking tour of many of the news shows in New York City. they're basically going to dangle the prospect of nuclear diplomacy to try to put political handcuffs on the success of Israel's regional military operations.
The question right now is whether or not any of the Western leaders are going to buy that. But Behnam, I'd like to thank you so much for joining us. Really interesting to hear your insight.